Greetings, everybody. This is Leviathan here, and today we got big Diablo 3 news. Patch 2.7.0 is now going to be available for testing on the PTR coming up soon, February 25th, as you can see on screen right now. I'll put a link to these notes in the video description. You know, there wasn't a lot of news about Diablo 3 at BlizzConline just this past weekend. I think that was done on purpose because the main sort of stars of the show were going to be Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 4 Rogue reveal, and a lot of stuff could get lost in the sauce there, as I've been saying. So that's probably why we didn't get a lot of Immortal news, and I'm guessing why D3 was relegated to this blog post. However, this is super hype, guys. This is a big, monumental change, I suppose, in the later life of Diablo 3. We're going on almost 9 years of this game now, but we're moving to 2.7, which, you know, should mark a big shift in what we are going to get in this update, and it looks like it's worth that number shift. So the big thing to take away in the beginning here is that it's going to be a 2-week PTR as per usual, again starting February 25th, so that brings us into about mid-March by the time that's done. If you want to extrapolate for your season, then maybe you'll get the 2-week warning right at the end of that, potentially in the middle, but maybe the end. So then your season 22 is going to end around like end of March or so, and the new season would maybe pop up in early April. So we're still a bit of a ways away. However, plenty to be hyped over and test here on this PTR. So again, there will be buffs active during this time to help us expedite our testing, along with, you know, dank meme PTR vendors, stuff like that. Increased legendary drop rate, increased experience gain, and double blood shards. So lots to help you kind of get your stuff geared up and try out some of the new things that'll be going on. There is class balance coming to this patch. You'll be maybe surprised or not so surprised on what will be changed. But you can see here some of the things they're looking for us to specifically test are Wizard's Firebird Finery set, Necromancer's Bones of Rathma set, and then Demon Hunter's Gears of Dreadlands, and Witch Doctor's Gazing Demise. You're probably wondering which of those got buffs and which of those got nerfs. You're about to find out. There's also some news on solo player content. What is this? A follower system revamp and Greater Rift Solo Leaderboard update? Now you're really wondering what the heck's going on, right? So let's go ahead. This is all just normal stuff that's always here, kind of let you know, hey, here's how you can test the PTR well. But here's the juice. Let's get to it. So a follower system revamp. The thing to note here is that this is the seasonal theme. However, this actually will apply to the base of the game. So this is a change that will be after season 23 is even done, going forward into the future. So it's kind of interesting because this is what is the seasonal theme. So you could almost say there is no seasonal theme because this is now a universal change to the game, which is an interesting choice. We can talk about if we like that or not, but here's what it is. So decide how you feel about this. The follower system for D3 is revamped and permanently available for season non-seasonal. You can now equip your followers with 14 different item slots. So they are now a fully fledged equipable character, essentially the same as you. But they also still keep their follower relic. So helm, shoulders, chest, gloves, bracers, belt, double rings, neck, which is amulet, pants, boots, main hand weapon, offhand. Introducing a new follower feature into D3. It's called Emanate. And this will allow players to gain intended effect of certain legendary powers and set bonuses when they're on your follower, the hired follower. Current list is these powers, and you can see them here. I won't read through all of them because it's just a list of legendaries, but some things to note here are that this initial list is kind of peculiar because there are only certain ones in certain slots. Like Broken Crown is the only helm here. Homing pads, Spalders of Zakara. I feel like this is the one that makes your items indestructible. Kind of basically only one choice here really for something that's effective. Homing pads. Goldskin, not really that great. Doesn't do that much. Extra gold. Custarian wrist guards, kind of in that same vein, but Nemesis bracers, pretty big. Gladiator gaunts I feel like are a skip, but Gloves of Worship could be great for your speed farming, since that's going to give you the 10 minutes of shrines. Nems is really nice for like all farming, really. Like this is probably just absolutely equipped and will give you more elites in every aspect. Regular rifts, speed farm GRs, pushing. Amulets, we're looking at Dovu Energy Trap, and that allows you to get longer stuns. Rakovs I feel like is kind of meaningless. Average Span will be nice for speed farming and allow you to still wear more powerful rings than you normally would if you're swapping this in or like using one of your cube slots on this, so that's pretty nice. The Creed's Flame will be interesting. That's like a resource return on fire damage. Maybe for some builds that are resource heavy, that could be a nice little extra quality of life there. Flavor of Time is huge. This is by far like the best thing probably in this whole list, really. That'll make a big impact because now you know how hard it is to get a Flavor of Time. So now you don't even have to necessarily go out of your way to farm a super good one. You can just put on your follower and benefit. And it would also free you up from wanting to use a cube slot on it too. So now other amulets are back on the menu. And that's really good. There's just a couple here that are very nice and key, but some of them are kind of just like or meh, like you'd rather see something else there. And then for some sort of directed farming here, this will be nice because I personally don't really like this whole swap meta of like you wear a regular 6-piece set and then right as the Rift Guardian is going to pop up, let me swap into my cane so I can get my extra keys. With this, you can just have it on your followers. Whenever you're going to go into a nice long key farming session, throw the cane set on your follower, and then boom, always benefiting from potentially getting those extra Greater Rift keys. And then maybe early in the season, having Sage on them might be nice so that you get the additional Death's Breaths, but I have found that, at least for my playstyle, you don't really run out of DBs once you have a very swift T16 farmer. So it'll be nice, though, for people that, again, want to just target certain things. Now, along with this, the Emanate system, which allows you to get these powers, there is also a rebalance or a bunch of change, revamps, to the follower's skills. Let's start with the Scoundrel. Scoundrel is probably one of the least used followers right now, and now it looks like it's getting some juice. This could be really good going forward. So Crippling Shot is now a ranged attack that deals 140% weapon damage, slows enemies hit by 80% for 3 to 6 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dexterity. So this will be great for builds that like to use slows but don't have a great way of slowing the enemy. This seems a little more reliable. I guess it depends on how often this Crippling Shot's going to go off and things like that. But in the same way we would use a Thunder Fury sometimes to get slows from the weapon, this is yet another source of that too for builds that may not be able to get their slows as easily as some others. Powered Shot, ranged attack that explodes on impact, dealing 120% weapon damage as arcane to enemies within 10 yards, and it has a 100% chance to stun enemies for 3 to 6 seconds, and that's based on Scoundrel's dexterity. So you can see there's like a little bit of interplay here, wanting to make sure that you get your main stat up on whatever follower to get extra benefit from the skills. 100% chance to stun. That's a long stun. 6 seconds of stunning an enemy could be pretty insane. So that looks like could be interesting. Especially for, again, things that activate on CC effects and whatnot. So getting a stun here could be nice. For instance, proccing your Bane of the Chapter, maybe a Crisbins or something like that. Hysteria. Whenever you or the Scoundrel land a critical hit, you will both go into hysterics, increasing all damage done by 3% for 3 to 6 seconds, again based on Scoundrel Dex. It would be nice to know what the threshold is here, like if we know exactly how much dexterity you need to hit in order to reach the 6 seconds, maybe there will be more signaling of that in the game, but that's something that seems to be missing here initially in the notes. Anatomy, increased critical hit chance by 1.8% to 4% for you and the Scoundrel, again based on Dex. Multi-shot passive. The Scoundrel special attacks have a 50% to 70% chance to fire 3 bolts based on the Scoundrel's dexterity. So this is just an additional buff to the Scoundrel itself to fire off more projectiles. So therefore these attacks would be hitting more enemies. And that would be nice, of course, because then you can apply these effects more frequently to more enemies. Skill Rework Vanish. When you take fatal damage, Scoundrel conceals you from enemies for 3 to 7 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dexterity and prevents your death. A cheat death worked into the follower. What? And all of them get some version of this now. So this is pretty revolutionary, again, for if you think about some of the top tier builds and wanting to include a cheat death so that you don't, waste time being dead in a GR push. Also for hardcore, like this could free up just a whole passive slot that you would use instead. Definitely want to know what the cooldown is on this one. I think that's the most vital information. If it's 60 seconds, like your standard character based cheat death, then that is very big, because that should make a huge difference. Knight's Veil. Scoundrel launches a cloud that covers a 20-yard area, lasts 5 to 10 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dexterity. all attacks against enemies that are inside the cloud will be critical hits. 20-yard area, 5 to 10 seconds, guaranteed crits. That seems very strong. And also one thing we'll have to note is like where the choices for these lay, right? Like a lot of these skills all sound pretty darn good, but you might be choosing between one or the other. Eventually we'll probably figure out some way to do it that makes the most sense, and maybe you'll even be changing some of the skills based on which activity you're doing, if you're pushing or speed farming, whatever. But this is just insane. Like, this is so strong. 100% crit in this area for 10 seconds. That's nutty. And then again, what the internal cooldowns on these skills are and their activation and stuff, like, this is all very important, because if it's super long, then some of these aren't as good. But just on the face of them, if they're happening very often, pretty sick. Last but not least, new skill, Piercing Shot. Ranged attack that pierces and increases damage done to enemies by 10% for 3 to 6 seconds based on Scoundrel Dex. So just a damage amplification there, which is still pretty nice. Then they remove Dirty Fighting and Poison Bolts. Onto the Templar, one of the mainstays, especially for hardcore. Heal and Loyalty, these now base a scale based on strength, Templar strength. Intimidate, enemies that hit or are hit by the Templar, slowed by 80% for 3 to 6 seconds based on strength. That's pretty similar to what it already is, I believe. So just kind of a longer slow, I suppose. Charges a target, dealing 280% weapon damage and stunning all enemies within 8 yards for 3 to 6 seconds. Again, if you want to use this stun, I think this might be one of the ones that we usually skip because we want to control the CCs coming from our followers. That's another thing to keep in mind too, is that some of these skills are providing CCs, but you may not want them because the follower could launch that attack at an inopportune time. So it is going to be something to be wary of, like maybe you don't spec that skill any at all because you'd rather control when the CCs come out. So something to keep in mind. Intervene, taunt enemies within 10 yards of you for 3 to 6 seconds based on Templar strength when you are hit. A rework on Onslaught, it delivers a massive blow to an enemy for 800% weapon damage and causes target and nearby enemies to take 10% increased damage for 3 to 6 seconds. So another one of those damage amp skills like we saw for the Scoundrel. And then here's the cheat death for the Templar Guardian. When you take fatal damage, Templar will rush to your aid, knocking back enemies within 15 yards, heals you for 15 to 25% life, that's based on the Templar strength, and shields you from all damage for 5 seconds. So again, another very nice cheat death mechanic there. The cooldown, you know, we need to know that, but looks pretty good. And then last but not least, Enchantress Erosion. Conjures up a pool of energy that deals 330% weapon damage as arcane, 5 to 7 seconds based on Enchantress's intelligence. And then affected enemies will take 10% increased damage. So this is pretty similar to how it has been. Again, the range on the duration there based on intelligence and increased damage. Focus Mind, 40-yard aura that increases attack speed for you and the Enchantress by 3% to 6%. Now this is nice because right now I believe it's just 3%. But you can imagine a build where you have to hit a certain breakpoint for attack speed, then you'd really care about the intelligence amount that you need to get to maybe that 6%, because that could help you reach a whole new breakpoint. And then now you're really happy that you're doing additional damage based on this sort of passive effect coming from your Enchantress. Skill rework here is renamed from Powered Armor to Powered Shield. Reduce damage by 6% from ranged attacks, increase armor by 3%, slow melee attackers by 60% for 3 to 6 seconds. For you and the Enchantress based on the intelligence of the Enchantress. Temporal Pulse, Enchantress casts a guided orb that deals 150% weapon damage and slows enemies by 80% for 3 to 6 seconds. So another slow coming from Enchantress here. Increase your highest static elemental bonus by 5 to 10% based on Enchantress's intelligence. So that's kind of nice, a little elemental boost. Definitely focusing on the Enchantress's like pushing you towards damage, you know. She usually is the most, or one of the more offensive ones. I guess a little bit of a mix, where you could say the Scoundrel is usually like super offensive, and they definitely have changed it to really key in on that. Prophetic Harmony here, new skill. Reduce your skill's cooldowns by 5 to 10% based on Enchantress intelligence, so free cooldown here too. Enchantress seems like one of the better choices here, just 'cause so well-rounded. And then Enchantress also has a cheat death here, Fate's Lapse. When you take fatal damage, Enchantress empowers you to speed up your movement through time for 3 to 7 seconds to avoid death based on the Enchantress's intelligence. Now, I don't know what this means. It sounds very flavorful, but I don't know if that actually means like you get increased movement speed or like it's just like you just cheat death. I don't know. All the other ones sound a little better because you get like healing and shields and stuff. But this, I don't know. And also, it's interesting that this one also scales off of the intelligence, so you can get a longer duration. But yeah, again, another thing that would be nice to know is, again, where those sort of breakpoints are to get to more seconds and things like that. But like, maybe we'll find out. And then they removed Forceful Push, Mass Control, Disorient, and Missile Ward from Enchantress's skills. The note from the developers on this one is that by reworking and adding follower skills, expanding follower equipment set, and introducing the Emanate system, we believe followers will be more meaningful and provide greater utility to the single player experience. And that's pretty much the key there, is that, you know, this is a big boost for solo play. Who knows? Who's to say like suddenly you'll see a Shira set, which is the one that allows you to bring your all followers out, like makes it into the meta or something like that, or even groups. I don't know. That'd be kind of weird. But this definitely seems great right now just for solo play. It's just a complete unparalleled boost to solo. And so that should hopefully bridge the gap a little between group and solo. Now, my one thought here already is that the thing that didn't get changed is the follower token, and the fact that we always are shoved into using the can't die token for your follower. Because once you hit like any appreciable GR, they die. They will just die without that token. And to get like the unity combo and things like that, you need that follower can't die token. So my thought was, this is a focused time for us to be changing things about the follower. Why not change that too? Bake that power into the follower so they are just always unkillable. And then now you've freed up that slot so you can use the cooldown one or the skill one, and you have a token that doesn't have a power anymore because it's baked into the follower. Change that token to be something like increased experience gain while you have this token equipped for you and your follower, something like that. Follower doesn't get experience anyway, so it doesn't matter. So basically just what I'm trying to say is, I would like it if you could also leverage your follower to get more experience while you're in solo, and maybe that would also help catch up the gap of solo and group. Just a thing, an opportunity here potentially. Next up, the Solo Leaderboards got an update. So the Greater Rift Solo Leaderboards now contain additional filters that you can sort them by. This update provides 7 filters per class now, for class sets, no class set, and then the overall default filter. So that's all 5 class sets, then a no class set, and then your standard, what we see right now. Developers' note on this is that in their current form, Solo Leaderboards are great at showcasing the strongest builds for each class, but only highlight a small percentage of the wide variety of builds that players have available to them. Pardon me. We want to empower community to play their favorite set and be represented on the leaderboard. So I need to know more about how this works, because if you can actually, let's think about it this way, right? The way that Greater Rift clears work right now, if I do Shadow at the beginning of the season and I do a GR 100, you see that on the leaderboard because that's my highest clear. If I then go to GOD and I do a 130, you'll never see that Shadow clear again. Even if I then cleared like a 130 with Shadow but did it slower, you still wouldn't see it because my GOD is my best time, and that's usually what the leaderboards reflect. If this is actually saying that whenever I go to the Shadow leaderboard, I will just see my Shadow clear, the game is like recording all these different clears, that is huge, because now you can play whatever set you like and compete on that leaderboard in particular. And even more so, if you want to be a champion of a class, a master of a class, then you can now try to say like, I'm going to get rank 1 in Shadow, Marauder, Unhallowed Essence. Like, you can be the like rank 1 undisputed overall Demon Hunter now. And I think that's going to be so huge for reinvigorating competition, making people like excited to play whatever they want, ignoring meta now. Like, you can be the master of your own universe, and that's huge. I think this is such a big change if this is exactly how it works. We definitely need more information on this, but I'm excited for that one. Absolutely. That's going to open up the game a lot. For season rewards here, there will be 2 unique new rewards. So this is something that they're kind of pointing out here. I don't know if that's like a pet, wings, something we haven't seen before. Portrait frame. Oh, look at that. And a pet will be granted to players that complete Season 23 Guardian Journey. So we know we're getting a pet and portrait frame. And then they're mentioning that there's 2 unique new things coming as well. So this is like on top of what we usually get from reaching the end of the seasonal journey. Very interesting. It will not be available during PTR 2.7.0. So this is also cool because it's something that usually PTR spoils pretty much everything, and we can see what the future will hold. But there will be 2 things here that we just won't even get to see until the future. And I guess it also sounds like we won't see the portrait frame or the pet either. Like, none of these things will be seen in the PTR. Okay. Surprises when the actual thing drops. That's cool. I think this is last, but certainly not least. We have some item changes here. So, a Bones of Rathma 2-piece set. Now we have your minions reduce the cooldown of Army of the Dead by 1 second each time they deal damage. Your skeletal warriors spawn faster, and your revived minions no longer expire. Bones of Rathma 4-piece, minions no longer take damage. You gain 1% damage reduction for 15 seconds each time one of your minions deals damage. And that's a max of 75 stacks. That's a pretty nice damage reduction, 75% at max. And the 6-piece, each active minion increases the damage of Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit by 1000%. So you just see Bone Spirit get thrown into here. And I've already heard from some people that got to see this in advance that that's going to be problematic, because right now there's like a meme-ish Necromancer build where you like cast Bone Spirit from screens away to kill a Rift Guardian in essentially one hit, because that skill has some modifiers on it where it gets stronger the further away it's cast and has time to travel and stuff like that. So this might also be feeding into that. So it's something to certainly keep in mind as we go to the PTR. I guess we'll see how crazy the damage will be for those Guardian killers. And there's even a now this bracer here, Defiler Cuses. Bone Spirit's damage is increased by 400 to 500% for every second it is active, and will also freeze enemies on impact. So this is another like huge damage ramp for that Bone Spirit travel time. And yeah, so that's gonna get interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one for sure. I am not a I think this is your bracers too. You can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a Necromancer. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this change to Bones of Rathma. Does it make it more relevant? Are you interested in it now? Are you worried about it? And there's a new item here as well called Bonds of Selena. It has a asterisk. Doesn't look like that asterisk gets any clarification. Okay. Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit deal 300% to 400% increased damage. Bone Spirit deals an additional 2% increased damage for 5 seconds each time Army of the Dead hits an enemy. So a little bit of synergy there between wanting to use Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit, which reinforces the 6-piece set. Seems good to me. We recognize that Bones of Rathma set plays similarly to other Necromancer builds in its current form. So the goal here is to preserve the fantasy of the set while maintaining diversity among the Necromancer sets. So basically, they're just trying to get people to use Bone Spirit, and, well, they just might. It might make it super duper OP. I guess we'll see. Necro's kind of used to being super duper OP, though. Next up, a change to Firebird's Finery in the 2-piece set. When you die, a meteor falls from the sky, revives you. Disintegrate ignites enemies, causing them to take 3000% weapon damage per second until they die. In the 4-piece, you gain 80% damage reduction, 4000% increased damage while Ignite is applied to a target, which again you learned about in the 2-piece. Casting Disintegrate will add combustion stacks that reduce the cooldown of Teleport by 2% per stack. You can stack that up to 50 times. So, you know, I'm no mathematician, but that gets to 100% 50 times too. So you have free Teleport, I suppose, once you have all those combustion stacks. That sounds quick. Sounds nice. Firebird's Finery, hitting an ignited enemy with a fire spell other than Disintegrate, deals Ignite damage multiplied by combustion stacks. I love how to be a wizard, you have to like actually be a mathematician. It's like, well, this combined with this will multiply this, but you have to do this at the setting of the sun. I don't know. Let my wizards out there, let me know what you guys think about the Firebird's change. Do you like this? Obviously, it's still staying true to the whole like Ignite playstyle fantasy. Lots of fire stuff going on here. Disintegrate taking some main stage here. Firebird's Finery is due for a rebirth. Nice. We have overhauled the set to breathe new life into it while still allowing players to incinerate the forces of hell. So here's the nerf, one of two. For Gears of Dreadlands, the 6-piece set, Hungering Arrow will pierce a maximum of 2 times while you wear Gears of Dreadlands. They toned down the number of pierces that Hungering Arrow can perform while Gears of Dreadlands is equipped to address concerns when interacting with missile dampening. I think even more so than that, because certainly that was an issue. But with only 2 max pierces, I think like the set's kind of dead. That's pretty rough. Like losing a lot of those piercings means you lose a lot of the ramp of damage to Hungering Arrow, even in normal cases where you aren't using a missile dampening. There's maybe a better way to change this. I personally can't think of it just yet, but I think there might be a different way to go about it, or a higher cap of pierces or something, because otherwise I think Hungering Arrow through GOD might be dead. However, you might see Hungering Arrow still used like in Unhallowed Essence and other variants, because the supporting items for it are still pretty strong. And this only says it's limited when you're wearing GOD. So I guess we'll see on that one. Last but not least, Gazing Demise. Damage of Spirit Barrage is increased by 100% to 150%. Spirit Barrage gains the Phantasm rune that lasts twice as long, and the attack rate from Manitou Spectres is increased. So here, Mundanugu's Regalia is overperforming compared to the other sets, so this change to Gazing Demise should simplify the gameplay mechanic while reducing its damage output. Alright. I haven't played WD in a while, so I'm not exactly sure what the change is here or how much impact it will have, but again, rely on you, community. Let me know what you think about the Witch Doctor change here. Also, let me know what you think about the DH change too. And then last but not least, the actual last but not least, Blackthorn's Jousting Mill replaced one primary property with a random elemental damage affix. Okay. So I guess that makes these, I think this is the pants, right? It makes these a little more useful, since now they'll have an elemental affix on them, kind of similar to Swampland Waders. Again, if these are the pants, if I'm right on that, then that's cool. Maybe Blackthorn's a little more useful. Don't know that this means they're now meta or anything like that, right? So we'll see. Last but not least, I keep saying last but not least, the actual. To account for Necromancer redesign of Bones of Rathma set, we have updated the objective to revive 100 corpses from the current raise 100 skeletal mages. So just a little thing with the class set dungeon for Rathma set to make it line up with the changes that they made to the actual set. And then how to participate, all that stuff. Again, I will put a link to all of this in the video description, but wow. A lot of big stuff here. A lot of good stuff for solo. Like this, to me, as a solo self-found kind of aficionado, I'm super happy with what we've seen here. Big follower change up. I mean, like, it's going to be a while before we figure out kind of what's best here and which follower to take in which circumstance. You might actually gear out all your followers and have them on rotation. And I do want to see this list increased for sure. The Emanate powers, I think there could be more things there. And we could even look through all the legendary powers and speculate which ones would be nice to add. It seems like this is a good start, but there could be more to do there. And then also the fact that this will be the seasonal theme, you know, maybe sound off in the comments on whether you think like this is enough for season 23 or if you'd like to see something else on top of that besides the follower change. I mean, this is pretty big, but it might feel weird that like this is sort of at the base of the game, and then like for the season, you're almost like, well, what else is happening this season? I don't know. I think it's fine, but I could also see some people wanting a little bit more just on top of this. Like even one of the old themes or something like that recycled. In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. There's a lot of hype here. We're definitely going to have some conversations around this. I can't wait to test it on the PTR. So definitely join me on that. Twitch.tv/Leviathan111 will be where the daily streams go down on Twitch. Make sure you give that a follow. And also subscribe to the channel because we'll be bringing you tons of videos from PTR once we actually get to test all this stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and adios for now.